What's up, everybody? Hit that subscribe button and that notification button if you haven't already done so. If you like movie reviews, I give my takes, nothing too crazy with it, what I like, what I don't like. I talk a little bit about it, as well as I do short films and micro shorts. So if you're into that sort of stuff, independent works, just another channel to, support and watch, new material if that's what you like. If you like other people's short films, why not check out my short films? I think short films, micro shorts, feature films that independent creators create is awesome. So your support means a lot. I do appreciate it. And let's get straight to it. As you see on the title, this is my Evil Dead Burn movie spoiler review. And I like this film. I give it 2 thumbs up. I really enjoyed it. It was bloody. It was gruesome. It was brutal. The most brutal Evil Dead yet. But I will say, I did prefer Rise better than Burn. And that's not to say that Burn was a bad film. I just like the setup of Rise and how everything happens and just the pacing of Rise. I just enjoyed more. Burn itself, the story wasn't too crazy. It's, it's about this family and their connection to their, with their grandpa who's been traveling and looking for artifacts involving the Book of the Dead and the Deadites. And you're getting that here with Burn. And, it started slow for me in the beginning. You're introduced to these characters who, in the beginning, you're like, I don't care about them. And I really didn't care about them throughout the whole movie, except the main, I would say, lead actress who played this. She was supposed to be French in the film. I don't think she's French in real life, but she plays this character who's the wife of someone who ends up dying in the film. He gets, crashes in the car and burns. Apparently, he's very abusive. They had arguments, and you find out that he was abusive. But, she's the main character in the film, the final girl, if you will. I really enjoyed her character, and I did enjoy the girlfriend of the son who was, I guess, who the Deadites wanted because he knew where the location of the dagger was, or they thought he knew, which he pretty much had all the artifacts stored in the attic. He never threw anything out that he was supposed to, so they figured he would know pretty much where everything was. And they were, using the older brother who died in a car crash. And I don't know, the way the pacing was with the film, they're like, he's coming, but it's like, why did it take so long for him to get there? And then he arrives in the ending. It was a little like, I would have expected him to be there earlier, but I guess that was just to save him for the finale with the person who was his girlfriend or his wife at the time, the final girl. But, the film itself, it was a slow start, but once it starts with the Deadites and the attacks, and that's when the movie gets more entertaining and crazy, and just the bloodiest and most brutal Evil Dead yet. And that's what you expect with Evil Dead. I know I've seen other reviews where it's like, it's too gruesome and this and that, and it's like, but that's what you should expect with an Evil Dead film. I don't understand the complaints. Maybe the story, I can see it wasn't the, best, but everything else, it's Evil Dead, which you should suspect at this point. So I thought it was just handled very well and unique in its own right. But like I was telling my cousin who I saw it with, I'm like, okay, is there going to be an end game with these films, or are we going to keep seeing different scenarios in different locations where the words are spoken, or, the Deadites are around and start attacking people who are trapped. In this film, the words aren't really said in full for the Deadites to attack because it connects to Rise, where the one Deadite in the ending, it leaves the apartment building after possessing the woman or whatever, and she goes into the lake, and that's where it begins, from that lake scene. These new 2, friends are out there, and that's, from there on, it travels off and meets Will, who's the guy that crashes, the husband, and he, gets burned up. But apparently they're like, we found you because he's related to the grandfather or whoever that was handling that situation with Deadites and searching for artifacts and whatnot. I don't know down the line or from the past if they still have connections to others, but there's a connection there. So when the words are spoken, I guess these are new words from a different book because it doesn't sound like the same words that are usually said. the final girl, she doesn't finish the words, but the deadite is still on its way to her and still attacks. So it didn't need to be said here, it seemed, but the deadites were already around because of the prior film. Other than that, like I said, I would need an end game. I like more Evil Dead movies. There's no complaints for me, but I just feel like it'll just be the same thing, just different circumstances, different happenings, more gruesome. And it's like, I want to see what happens. Final, and I guess they would just have to finish the franchise, which I'll be okay with. I think the films have been great so far. Entertaining. I know the next one they're doing is called Evil Dead Wrath, and it's supposed to be a prequel to The Evil Dead with Bruce Campbell. So apparently they're all connected. If you don't know, they're all connected. There's 3 books, Necronomicons, volumes, if you will. Originally in Army of Darkness, the 3rd film with Bruce Campbell, it was supposed to be the 1 book that he was supposed to get, but there was 2 others with it, and those were supposed to be just fake. Those, like, 2 of them were supposed to be fake and 1 was real, and they retconned it so where there's actually 3 volumes. Which I think is cool, and it just adds to the, it allows for more things to happen. But it's like, I would like to see an endgame. Where does it go after everything happens? Is it going to be a loop? Is it just going to be a thing that just keeps happening because of, time travel? Bruce Campbell's character Ash does time travel. He goes to the past in the 3rd film, Army of Darkness, ends up back into modern day, but the deadites are around. And then the TV series Ash versus the Evil Dead, the way it ends, he's in the future because when he's in, I guess, this pod healing, he ends up being stuck there for some time, and when he wakes up, he's in the future, but then they just never continue the series. But it was a great series, Ash versus the Evil Dead. I believe it was 3 seasons, so check that out if you haven't. But, it's a great franchise. I love what they do. I love the different directors, their takes. There was some great shots with this one. There's a mirror shot where you're seeing something happen, and then when the person gets slammed into the mirror, that's when you realize, oh, I was seeing like the reflection, because then it cuts to when after the person gets bashed and you see the head come out and the way the camera was done. I thought that was a cool shot. And there's a lot of other cool shots and just the way some gruesome things happen. Other things, I'm like, I don't know if it was necessary. Like when the father who becomes a deadite shoots himself like 3 times and you just show it. I'm like, what's the point of having to do it, all that craziness to show these people that, hey, he's a deadite? Like, I think they're kind of aware from the first 2 shots of that. And that's just, to me, that's just, having him shoot himself 3 times, that's just more makeup or CGI or whatever you gotta do when you showing him because his face is jacked up. But it's fine, because if you like to do what you want to do, create and film, and you want to add all that, you can do that. I just felt like it was maybe personally unnecessary. But, they continue the story from the last one, and the way it ends with the mid-credits, or there's 2 of them, the grandmother in Byrne, it becomes a deadite, but that, she escapes as a deadite. I missed it. I know that's what happens. I read about it. But from what I think, she escaped because she's crawling. I don't think she went to a different body, because the deadites aren't really from hell per se. They're from a different dimension. So, and I'll get to that point for the other credits. But anyway, she escapes. So, that they can continue with the story right there, if they want, because the next one is a prequel, not necessarily a sequel, unless they're going to do prequel and then jump into modern day. So the deadites are still around, and then the end credits, the after credits, the mother who turns into a deadite in Rise returns. But it's like, how could she return if she got chopped up? Well, the deadites don't really die, technically. They get, I believe, sent back to their dimension. But in the after credits, this little girl sees she's somewhere in a morgue or something, I don't know, a morgue or somewhere, funeral, and the urn, which says Ellie Bixler, which is the mother from the Evil Dead Rise, is there. But it's like, why would there be an urn if, she just got chopped up and these people escaped? Like, how would anyone realize, she's dead unless, you know, somebody checked out that apartment and, you know, whatever. But like, why would there be an urn? It doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, so the little girl looks at the mirror, flashing lights happens, and then she sees her in the reflection, the mother instead of herself. And eventually, you know, she touches it, the lights turn back on or go off and then turn back on, and then she doesn't see her no more, but then she's behind her and the little girl turns, and then, you know, she does whatever, she touches the little girl and then snaps her neck, it seems. Like, she literally kills the little girl, and she says, "Mommy's back." But how is she back? I saw reviews, people commented, well, when they're in the mirror, in the mirror dimension, they're able to, and you've kind of seen that in the other films, they can still come back and, you know, as a host body or other body or whatever, they can still, you know, retake the form of somebody. So, or in that context, they're still able to come back. So it didn't matter that she got chopped up, which, you know, it makes sense to me. You know, deadites, like, you don't necessarily need your whole body back, but they did kind of show that with the other films. So it wasn't just an Easter egg that people assume, oh, it's just an Easter egg. But I'm like, you can't just have an Easter egg without a purpose, really, I feel like. At least in this context for the Evil Dead films. So I don't know what they'll do, if they'll do another modern day, but I know the next film is supposed to be a prequel. But we'll see if it'll be a prequel / sequel, or just a prequel and they will do another one. But again, I would like to see an Endgame. I just think it's a little too repetitive, and we're trapped. The deadites are attacking us, and there's one person surviving. So we'll see. But I really enjoyed it. I think you should check it out if you like the franchise. It's another addition that I think paves the story forward. Because, you know, again, these are, the last couple of films are, well, they're all integrated now, but these last two films are back to back, like one after the other. So we'll see. But I enjoyed it a lot. It is gruesome. It's a slow start in the beginning, but once it starts, it's going. And I think that's what you need in an Evil Dead franchise. I like things to happen early in the beginning, or at least be entertaining enough if you're introducing characters and nothing's happening. But once it starts happening, it's crazy. It's the most brutal yet. And if you like that stuff, then this is the movie for you. I give it 2 thumbs up. Thank you for listening. I do appreciate it. Until next time. Later.